Hello, my name is Ed Frawley, and of course, my wife and I own Leerburg. This is a good Q&A because it's about some people that hired a trainer to help train their 10-month-old dog. And it's a situation where, hands down, I would fire that trainer. I'll read it. You can make up your own mind. Before I get into it, I always say the same thing. You don't need to be a customer of Leerburg to send a question in. And we're the only website I'm aware of that answers all the questions that come in. So here's what this person says. We started with a new trainer for our 10-month-old rescue puppy last week. The training is with an e-collar, and several of my coworkers recommended it. A problem right there. Are your coworkers dog trainers? I used to have a saying, and I still have it, everybody in the world has an opinion on how to train a dog. Ask your neighbor, ask your barber, ask your postman, ask your brother, ask your sister. They all have opinions, and they're all well-intended. So are the coworkers here. They're well-intended, but they don't have the experience to offer good advice. And they certainly gave bad advice to send this poor person to this dog trainer. And you'll see why here in a second. We drop the dog off once a day, once a week. They work with us and our dog on every other session. So every other week, this person goes in. Now, they don't know anything about training dogs. That's why they went to this place. So you give somebody your dog for a day to train a 10-month-old puppy, starting with remote collar training. That's crazy. That's not the way to train dogs. It's the way a lot of unqualified professional dog trainers will train dogs because it can be quick. And when you're a dog trainer, time is not your best friend because you have to get so much work done in such a short period of time. And a good dog trainer is going to set somebody down and say, look, this is how we train. We train with reward-based training. And this is not going to be learned on one day a week. This is not even going to be learned in a couple of weeks. It takes a long time to train a dog correctly. And if you're uncomfortable with doing that, then I recommend taking your dog someplace else because I don't want to do a bad job on a dog. So I'm going to go on here. This person said, my concern is the trainer told me when giving directions on how to use the stimulation that I shouldn't worry too much if my dog yelps. I'm not hurting him, she said. Well, to an extent that can be true. A lot of times when you first introduce a dog, you have to determine a working level on the dog. And sometimes it can startle a dog, and a dog that's a little soft may yelp a little bit, not because it hurts them. Basically, the way a remote collar works is kind of like a TENS unit that you would have used on yourself, and you can buy them on Amazon that chiropractors use, where they put an electrode here and an electrode here, and they fire on a little stimulation. It'll tighten and loosen the muscles in your body. I had that done on my knees when I dislocated my knees when I was young. So that's kind of the concept of remote collar. So a dog can yelp because they're startled. The trainer said that for him, it's a little discomfort, like having the music too loud in your house or your car. I'm having a hard time believing this. He did yelp once. He sat down and tried to scratch the collar off, and that's a normal thing for a dog to do. And I have 2 very good remote collar training videos, and in it we show how to introduce a dog to stimulation. And one of the things, as I said in the beginning, we start very, very low and go up one increment at a time until we see the dog have some kind of a reaction. And a reaction could be the dog get to, let's say, so we use Dogtra collars, and a Dogtra collar has between 1 and 127 levels of stimulation. A human won't start to feel anything until it gets around 20, 21, or 22, and then it's only a little bit of a tingling thing. A dog oftentimes can feel the stimulation down around level 14, and when you introduce a remote collar to a dog, that's how you do it. You put it on level 1, and then you stimulate him. Level 2, stimulate him. You work it up until you see the dog have some kind of a reaction. It could be looking around like, what was that? Or it could be they sit down and scratch. That can be normal too. Yelping, that means you jumped too many steps. You went up too high too quick. But this isn't a course on how to use a remote collar. I'm just bringing it up. So this person goes on to say, I stopped using the collar at home since he doesn't seem to understand what I want from him. Well, that's exactly what she should do. She should stop going to this trainer, and she should stop using the remote collar. You don't train behaviors with a remote collar. You train behaviors using reward-based training until you're 100% sure that the dog knows what the behavior is that you're working on, and then you'll pair the remote collar to the command that you give, and you do it on leash. And again, this isn't a video teaching you how to use a remote collar. I'm just bringing up the facts on how to do it. So she went on to say, you know, that her dog doesn't know what it's getting stimulated for. Well, how could they? Put that remote collar on this trainer and try and teach it to jump up and down 6 times and then wave their hands in the air, and it doesn't know anything about what you're doing, and keep stimulating and stimulating, stimulating until she does it. That'll teach her a thing or two. But the trainer told me that that the collar will be used to enhance our voice command. Wrong. Dogs only pretend not to hear us. Wrong. I'm to increase the stim level on the collar, which is what the trainer said, until it responds. It's kind of like learned helplessness. If you don't know what learned helplessness means, there's plenty of information on the internet that you can go and read about it, but basically you teach the dog that there's no way out of a correction. It's kind of like old yank and crank type of training. You want to teach your dog to heel, and I've learned this myself 50 years ago. It's the only way we knew back then. It was before reward-based training. You'd put your dog next to you, prong collar on, start marching down the field. You take a right-hand turn, heel, whack, give them a good leash correction, take a left-hand turn. Keep doing left-hand turns, whack, give them a correction. Yeah, they'll figure it out because it's learned helplessness. They just accept it. They're going to learn that nothing they do is going to eliminate you giving the old jerk and pop when you turn right, or turn left and knee them in the side and go that way. Learned helplessness is a dog that just sits there and takes it and takes it and takes it and takes it, because there's nothing it can do to not have that discomfort. So this person goes on to say that we are both frustrated during the at-home training sessions. And at the beginning of this Q&A, she didn't say that every other week the trainer comes to her house. Obviously it does, but it just frustrates these people. She also told us to not use the word no anymore, or give him treats as rewards. What's that tell you? Is that a yank and crank trainer? I think so. So Cindy went on to say, Cindy is much more diplomatic than I am. Probably because I feel sorry for these dogs. She feels sorry for the dogs too, but Cindy would recommend that she would sit down and have a talk with the trainer. I would never sit down and have a talk with that trainer. I don't respect anything that that trainer is doing, so why talk to her? You're not going to change her. She thinks she knows what she's doing, and she thinks you don't know anything that you're doing, so why should she listen to you? So no, don't go sit down and talk to her. The simple fact that these people took the time to watch what was going on and then write us to ask us what to do means they want the best for their dog. And they smell a rat here. So the bottom line is, Cindy goes on to say that if you're concerned enough to contact me then maybe it's best to find a different trainer that uses methods that you and your dog's experience are more comfortable with. And that's the truth too. So not everybody deserves to hang a shingle out there and be called a professional dog trainer. A lot of them have a lot to learn. A lot of them want to get into the dog training business, and they jump in with 2 feet before they're ready, before they've learned. And this is the kind of mistakes and problems that you can have. So I'm going to list a few courses here that we would recommend to this person. And quite frankly, I'm not going to include our remote collar training courses in here. I'm going to tell you what we would do if we had to start a 10-month-old puppy.